Okay, we are going to do things a little bit different today. I have a whole series that I want to go through that I'm going to start doing, and I'm going to start acting as if some of these videos that are going to be more longer format, long form, these are going to be more for like classes that I would actually teach in the Regal Change Academy. So, as you can see, this is the format on school, the platform for the Regal Change Academy. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to go through this new class, Revolutionizing Psychology and Spirituality. And this one is going to be, I've already got like some topics that I want to go through, but today I want to talk about the men with the dangerous, nonchalant confidence. Okay, and so I've created this whole class for you guys because I'm a big believer that if you really want to get back value, you first have to give value. And so that's what I'm going to aim to do here in this class for you guys is I'm going to aim to give as much value as possible with a lot of different kinds of demonstrations within this. So you'll be able to stop, you'll be able to take notes. This is going to be something that you want to actually listen to. This is not going to be something that you just need to, okay, well, it's nonchalant. Well, yes, it is nonchalant, but there's an art form to this. There's an understanding that you have to have. And I'm also a big believer that unless you understand something, you're not really going to identify how to move forward. So, with all that being said, the man with the dangerous, nonchalant confidence, I created this image that has the fullness of confidence. Okay. And this is the triangle that has a polarity. On the negative side, you have the low self worth. And on the positive side, you have a pathological sense of confidence. Now, I created this because in the, let's say, the king archetype and the queen archetype class that we have in here there are going to be like the king in his fullness, right? This is going to be a mirror image of that, but I created it just for the nonchalant confidence. And as you can see here, we have a bunch of different kinds of information in each class, but I really want to emphasize what exactly is going on here. So you can see that in the king archetype, there's the evolution to the king in his fullness. It's going to be the same type of thing with the man with the dangerous nonchalant confidence. Okay, you're going to have to go through a series of really initiations to get to that fullness of confidence. Because if you're too low in your self worth, there's like a negative polarity, which is going to cause you to kind of, you know, fold in on yourself. Whereas the pathological confidence, now, I've talked about pathological confidence in the past. I've talked about how you need to have some kind of level of pathological confidence. And the reason I tell that to so many people is not to give them this like profound advice, but because I want to ensure that a lot of people that I work with have low self worth and low self esteem. And it's rarely the case that it's because they don't have the capacity for this fullness of confidence. It's because they don't know their own worth. Okay. And so I tell them to have pathological confidence because in the polarities, you have to balance that to get to that fullness. Right. So I've got some information here that I want to go through before we get to the psychology of dangerous confidence and the art of having a bold presence and how to kill the inner weakling. Okay. So, as the Bible says, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. The root word of meek expresses the inner posture of humility, not weakness. Okay. It's an original sense of meekness. It's not a weakness of any kind. It's controlled strength, right? It's gentleness of spirit. It's humility, particularly in the face of hardship or authority. Okay, and specifically, if you're a man watching this and you want to have that dangerous, nonchalant confidence, okay, what you're going to have to recognize is that you need to be capable of being dangerous. Okay, that's the whole point of being dangerously nonchalant. And there's going to be levels of this, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in business, etc. You have to recognize and just have complete faith that you will be able to bend reality to your will if you need to. Okay, if you need to, if you must, you can bend reality to your will insofar as it is in accordance to God's will. So meekness is not a weakness. Meekness is going to like inherit the earth, right? What does that mean? Well, the world opens up for you to conquer once you decide that it is. And this isn't going to say that it's going to be easy. This isn't to say that it's going to be, a walk in the park, but it is to say that if you have the kind of confidence to really demonstrate that you are most capable of living life on your terms, that's going to enhance your nonchalant confidence. It's going to enhance, because what does confidence really come from? Well, confidence comes from knowing that you're capable of competence and you have demonstrated achievements to apply that confidence. Well, so if you have low self-worth here, if you're in the negative polarity, you've got to do stuff. Okay, and that means you have to like psych yourself into believing your thought algorithms are going to be, where you need them to be so that you can have that fullness of confidence down the line. But there's a difference between confidence, arrogance, and silent power, right? And this is where we get into the psychology of dangerous confidence. Okay, you have to unlearn approval-seeking behavior. Now, what does this mean? Because unlearning approval-seeking behavior, a lot of people don't even recognize that they're doing it. And when I'm talking about this stuff, again, I'm pointing one finger at you and I'm pointing one finger back at me, because I used to be a very big people pleaser. I used to do things just to get the approval of others, because that way I would feel like I fit in. Okay. And I wanted to fit in because I was so sick of feeling like an alien. I felt as if I was the most human person, and yet everybody around me was like alien, and treated me like an alien. Like, to me, they were aliens. I remember one time I had a vision. It was about 4 years ago actually. And I had this vision during a psychedelic trip. And this psychedelic trip was the last trip that I've done. And I saw these lizard cowboys and these lizard cowboy aliens that were like flying and such. And they were trying to take the life force of all of the godly people. And this is exactly what, like, lizard brain, anybody's ever heard of lizard brain? This is exactly what lizard brain is like. Okay, people with lizard brain, they're literally the reptiles. Like, if you're someone that is actually spiritual, I'm positive you've seen like these reptile eyes. When you look into somebody's eyes, you can feel like they're like a reptile. I remember, and this takes some discernment, right? And it's actually not as supernatural or numinous as it may sound, because if you're actually walking the path, like, you'll just know, like, sometimes you'll see people's demons, right? And this is what happens when you start to grow in confidence, especially confidence in God, because your relationship to confidence is demonstrated between you having a relationship with the God. Okay, if you have a relationship with the God and you understand that the Godhead emanates within you outward, because life is a force that comes from you. Life is not a force that happens to you. Okay, this is where your mindset really has to be solid. This is where your mindset has to be very vigorous and again, you have to have this like godlike mastery to it down the line. But in order to have that godlike mastery, you might first need to have pathological confidence. Okay, you might have, or if you have pathological confidence, it's not necessarily that you need to have low self worth. It's just that you need to be more humble. Okay, and how do you fix pride or excessive vanity in a person? Well, they first have to recognize it. Okay, because a person with low self-worth is going to know they have low self-worth, but a person with pathological confidence, they usually don't care. They just are like, yeah, I'm the best. And yeah, like there's a difference though between a fullness of confidence and that swagger. Okay, because well, and the swagger that it takes with the fullness of confidence. Because somebody like I'm thinking like Conor McGregor, for example, right? Conor McGregor is a very powerful figure in regard to confidence. I mean, the way he just struts his stuff, but he doesn't do it in a way that's like it is excessive, but it's absolutely him. You know, he just has complete confidence in himself. And this is where shadow work comes into play. Okay. Anybody that's unfamiliar with shadow work needs to understand that shadow work is about recognizing the dark traits that you have. It's about recognizing, like, for example, I used to put anger and the sense of aggression in a box because my dad growing up was a tyrant. Okay, if we go back to the king archetype here and we look at this, um, this is like I'm giving a lot of free game right here because, well, number one, you can go look this up, like this specifically, but a lot of the information that's in here, like you wouldn't even know that it's existing unless I'm giving it to you. So I hope that again you guys are taking notes here, that you guys are really understanding what's actually being said and that you're learning how to apply it. Okay. So you'll see here that on the positive spectrum, whereas this is the tyrant, on the negative spectrum, it's the weakling. Okay. And then there's the king in his fullness. Growing up, my dad and a lot of the men around me in my life were on this positive spectrum, and they were so hyper positive that it made me into the weakling. Growing up, I didn't have a great mindset. I didn't have a really positive mindset about myself, and so that led me to not wanting to address that aggression inside me. And the more that I wanted to repress that aggression, the more I was I was confronted in reality with the need to be aggressive. Because something that I've realized recently is that it's not even like uh, your thoughts are like, it's not a belief that your thoughts curate your reality. It's it's simply a fact that your thoughts will curate your reality. And so if you don't allow certain thoughts to express themselves and you try to repress those things, because life, like the universe itself, it's not happening outside of you. Okay, the universe is happening inside of your mind and outside. It's a Some people in the spiritual realm call it like duality. Okay, some people call it just experiencing the yin and yang of life, you could say. And this is where you have to recognize that's also inside of you. Okay, so when as soon as I was able to get that box outside of it, like I was able to let go of that box and not press that red button, because I had like a red button on that box like do not press. But the thing is as Nietzsche says, the conscience can be like a tyrant. Okay, the conscience absolutely can be like a tyrant, and it's up to you to determine like how to move forward properly with that, because it can be like you're repressing yourself so much, so in your shadow so much. Anybody that doesn't know what the shadow really is and where it came from, I also talk about it in my book here, the Book of Oldishness, because there's like a lot of different things that happen when you confront your shadow. Because usually your shadow, especially in dreams, they're going to be usually the same gender that you are. Okay. And when you confront that, there's parts of you that you'll notice in other people that maybe you don't want to address that are actually inside you. And so you'll project onto other people, and you might not even know you're projecting. The shadow is essentially the parts of you, the totality of parts of you that you don't want to address that are actually inside you. Okay, and the shadow comes from Carl Jung, who I reference quite a bit in the Book of Oldishness here that I have written. And he got it from actually Nietzsche, who Nietzsche brought up the idea of the shadow in Thus Spoke Zarathustra. Okay, and what happened is that actually Carl Jung saw this and he recognized it as an archetype. So that's where shadow work comes from. Is it's associating the inner work that comes with associating and confronting this archetype within you. Okay, so now we have the art of having a bold presence. Okay, body language of kings and queens, voice training, walking into the room like you own it, and then of course the Proverbs 28:1 where it says, "The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion." Okay, so part of having dangerous nonchalant confidence is being able to be bold as a lion. And it takes acute attention toward your body language. Is your body language open? Is it open or is it closed? And are you, when you sit on like a bench or something, do you have your arms spread out a little bit, taking up room? Because a king takes up space. Okay, have you ever noticed that about a lot of really solid men? Is that they just seem to take up space. They take up space very easily. And it's just a part of who they are, right? It's just a part of how they live and what they're doing. And queens are more proper, right? Like as far as the body language goes, if you look at what's the name of the British Princess of Wales? Is it Kate something? Princess Kate? I can't remember her name right now for some reason. But you guys know who I'm talking about. She is, for example, like she always has like her back straight, her shoulders relaxed, and she always speaks with this calm sense of presence. And that's where another voice training comes into play. As a man, if you project your voice, now I'm not talking about projection as in psychological projection here. I'm talking about actually projecting your voice. If you assert yourself, okay, how do you assert yourself in situations? Are you asking like, oh, can I do this? Can I do that? Now, of course, there's going to be times where you have to ask, can I? But or may I? But otherwise, would you say like, I'd like this, please, or I'd like this? Like if you go to a restaurant uh, and you say, can I get a glass of water? I don't know. Let's just say that for simplicity's sake. Can I get a glass of water? Or do you say, I'd like a glass of water, please? In one instance, you're almost asking permission. And then in the other instance, you're like, this is what I want. This is what I want to go after. And you're going to have to decide how that works for you. Okay. You're going to have to decide what exactly kind of man do you want to be? Because this is the art of having both presence is you're able to assert yourself. You're able to penetrate the aura of other people without coming across as a person that is trying to extract from them. Okay. And when you walk into a room like you own it, especially as a man, it's definitely seen as body language is that the man's shoulders sway a little bit when he walks, and then the woman, for like the women that may be watching this, a woman's hips sway a little bit when she walks. That makes a woman more attractive, and then the shoulders swaying a little bit makes a man more attractive. But it also gives a sense of swag to it, right? So now we go into killing the inner weakling. Okay, so how do you kill the inner weakling? How do you get rid of this negative polarity and move to a fullness of confidence? You literally have to look at the part of you that is the weakling inside of you, and you have to kill it. Sometimes you might have to kill it every day. There's still that voice inside of me. Sometimes I call it, I call it a very specific voice. Uh, like as far as it's basically like the inner, it's like the inner biatch that really just doesn't want to hear or do anything hard. Okay. And I have to kill that part of me sometimes every single day. And I don't give it, I don't, like, I'll listen to it, but then I let it go. I kill it because it's going to come back up. This is part of who we are sometimes. But you have to identify with different kinds of internal narratives. Okay, destroy any limiting internal narratives. So here are some examples that a lot of people have that are from the inner weakling. Okay, oh, they'll think I'm arrogant. Oh, if I speak up, I'll sound stupid. Well, I don't want to be too much. They're going to leave me if I change. These are all examples of fear of judgment and rejection. Okay. As a man who, like, if you want to have dangerous confidence, dangerous, nonchalant confidence, these kinds of thoughts don't exist. And if they do exist, you let go of them immediately and you kill them immediately. Okay. So this is where you really need to understand that trying to sound like you are inside yourself, like you are being too much, for example, you have to recognize a lot of people aren't even enough of themselves. You're probably not too much. You're probably just seeing how much little, like, how do I say this? You're not too much. You're seeing how little people think of themselves and want you to think less of yourself too. You're not too much. You're just recognizing how little people really are of themselves. People aren't enough of themselves. Okay, and if you're afraid of people leaving you, I've got something to tell you. It's just you in this world, pretty much always, you know. And that's going to be everybody knows this, but it's hitting differently when you experience it, right? Like you have to really experience this sense of grief and loss of support to recognize, like, oh, I'm going to be okay though. Like you can change this to, oh, they're going to leave me if I change. You can change that to, if they leave me, I'll be okay. Or you could change it to, I'll be okay no matter what, even if they leave me. Okay. And then maybe they'll think I'm arrogant. You could change that to a non-limiting internal narrative as, because you're still worried about what they're thinking, right? You'll say, I'm confident in who I am, but I'm also mindful and I'm mindful enough to have humility. Okay. That could be an internal narrative. If I speak up, I'll sound stupid. Just instead of saying that to yourself, you can say, I'm going to say what I'm going to say and let the chips fall where they may. Hey, that rhymed. Instead of saying, I don't want to be too much, just saying, look, I don't want to be a prick, but at the same time, I'm not going to let myself be walked all over on. Okay. Something like that. It doesn't have to be explicitly like that, but those are just a few things that you can think about. So something that I do in the Godlike Master Initiation program that I have with the people and my clients that I do is visualization rituals. So, for example, some of them I can do a fire ceremony where you write down all your fears on a piece of paper and you burn them. This is just an example. Okay. It changes based on the person that I'm interacting with. And this is going to be more of something that I've done more recently and incorporated into the Godlike Mastery Initiation more recently. Otherwise, like in my general one-on-one mentorships calls that I do, I'll recommend this stuff maybe, but I don't have like an actual, uh, you know, visualization ritual specifically for them. I just give them general advice, and it's not even advice. It's just examples on what they could do based on their situation. But this is like an example of a visualization ritual that you can do. Okay, so now we're going to move on to like the archetypal character of the masculine man with nonchalant confidence. Okay, now James Bond is a perfect example in modern day archetypal characters because he balances traditional strength with emerging values such as depth and self-awareness. Okay, he's both archetypal and aspirational. He embodies what is complex and a bit of a contradiction, and he also embodies what it means to be a man in today's world, in the modern world. Okay, he's capable. You can just like look at this image, okay, and you can see, okay, he's well groomed. He knows how to use a gun, so he's capable of being dangerous, but he's also looking like a very classy guy, and you can just tell by his physiognomy, which anybody that doesn't know what physiognomy is, physiognomy, sorry, because it's pronounced that way, physiognomy, which is basically the study of a person's appearance is usually how they actually are. Okay, so if you just look at this guy, he looks like a man's man who also has the capacity for gentleness, but he's also got this air of seduction to him, right? And he's attractive in that way. For not just like, this is why men aspire to be like him in the modern time. And I'm not saying that this is like you should be, I'm not saying you should aspire to be like James Bond. I'm just saying that this is the modern archetypal figure for the culture. Okay. So having this nonchalant, dangerous confidence, well, number one is he's composed under pressure. Okay. He always remains cool and calculated, even in life-threatening situations. In modern context, this reflects emotional intelligence and self-regulation. This is something that many women are attracted to. Okay, many women are attracted to the man with emotional intelligence and the capacity to self-regulate because they know, maybe not consciously, but they know that if they can have a man in their life where he's emotionally intelligent, he can self-regulate, he's the rock. Okay, they want that rock. They want the ability to be able to just be who they are with the man, and they can be like the waves of the ocean crashing into the solid, sturdy land or mountain or whatever. Because if you think about it, like if you ever been in like mountainy areas, it feels very masculine as far as a like just the environment and the landscape. I've often wondered if that's maybe why all the lesbians are in Colorado, because they because they always need like they do need that masculine presence, but they all want to be lesbian and they want to pretend to be, I just thought about that. Like I wondered about that because then you have people like in LA, for example, where there's like the vast ocean and such. The ocean itself is very feminine. because it's so chaotic. Like, have you ever been to the ocean? Like, the ocean is super weird. The ocean is weird. There's a bunch of weird animals that can sometimes breathe the air outside as well as the water. Like, it's just weird. Like turtles. Turtles are cute. Okay, turtles are cute, but they're kind of weird animals. Okay, like a sea turtle, they're super cool looking. I remember going to Hawaii, and man, it was super cool to see these sea turtles literally like on the beach, right? We were on the beach, and they because you could throw a rock from our condo that we were staying in, like the Airbnb or whatever, and you could throw a rock and you'd be closer to the beach than you would be to like the pool area for like the condominiums and all that. And so it was just super cool to just go to the beach and bada bing bada boom, there were sea turtles. But they're just very strange creatures, and there's so many different kinds of fish, and you're thinking to yourself like, what in the world? Like, have you ever seen a jellyfish? Jellyfish are weird looking as crap. Okay, they're super weird looking, and they're supposed to be like conscious, and they literally look like these figures that are just like like they really look like jellies. Like they just look like this moving jelly in the middle of the ocean, and they're supposed to be freaking conscious. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, and it makes you wonder like how real the world really is. But anyway, that's kind of a side note. The point is like the mountainy terrain is more like masculine, and then the feminine terrain is more like watery. Okay, it's more like fluid. Everything fluid. Everything. I think this is one of the appeals to like rivers or lakes in mountainous areas is there's something so balanced about it. There's something so like profoundly balanced because you can see like the water, crevices through the mountain or it settles in the mountain, and there's something that's so balanced about it. But, women want that man that can be composed under pressure, that can be the mountain. Okay. And when you're composed under pressure, especially in life or death situations, I don't know what it is with myself, for example. I've always been more capable in life or death situations where I've had like this cool, calm, collected feeling. Whereas whenever it's like day to day stuff, it's not that like I'm not capable. It's just that I'm more capable. I feel more alive and alert in life or death situations. Like when my back is against the wall, I just feel like ironically, sometimes I feel like I have more options, even though that's not really the case if your back's literally against the wall. But I feel as though I have more options because I have no choice but to fight. Like I have no choice but to like live for that fight. It's like living on a prayer by Bon Jovi, right? Where he says, "You live for the fight when it's all that you've got." Sometimes that's it, right? So number two here is competence and mastery. Whether it's hand-to-hand combat, tech, language, or espionage, Bond is a master of his craft. Okay, so he's in hand-to-hand combat. He knows martial arts to some degree, right? He's been trained. This is one of the reasons why I tell men that it's vital for your mental health as a man to learn hand-to-hand combat. I've had multiple people in my one-on-one mentorships that I've talked to recently join new martial arts classes and such, and some of them have told me like, yeah, I'm getting really beat up about it. Like, I'm going home bruised and broken and all that. And it's like, well, that's what you feel like. You feel like you're doing that, but that's really part of that masculinity. Is we have to put force into the world, right? We have to be that force to be reckoned with. And one thing about the tech thing is like you'll see James Bond, he knows how to operate like helicopters and airplanes and boats and all. Like he just knows how to do things. That's one thing about James Bond as a archetype is he just knows how to be anything and everything. And I think this is where women really want that kind of man. Women want a man that can be capable of being anything and everything. Like this is why they like handymen, for example, a man that knows how to be handy around the house, that can build things around the house. It's not it's like it's a hot thing for women to see. I've had women, like when I work on my car with like the oil change or something, like women are like, it's weird how they watch you. I remember when I was going to change my oil in my car a long time ago, and women, like there was this group of women that were just like staring at me, like oogling at me changing my car, and I didn't understand what was happening at the time because I was still kind of a beta. But looking back in retrospect, I was like, oh, they were like googling, like eyeing me down, like googly eyes at me because, well, that kind of stuff is attractive to women. Okay, so language is another thing that is very important. I remember a woman, she spoke Spanish. Okay, because I used to be very much into Latino women. I still like Latino women, but I used to be having my weakness for Latino women, and she would speak Spanish around some of her friends sometimes, and she didn't know that I spoke poquito Spanish. Okay, just a little bit, and so I could understand more than what I could speak. And when finally I spoke to her in Spanish, she was like, she was like, oh, this is, and it's not about just attracting women, right? But it's about that competence and mastery in of itself, because it does come in handy, right? Whether you're trying to communicate somebody about a business or whatnot, like if you have knowledge of other languages, it's going to help you. Okay, and we're not taught about language in the same way that people were 100 years ago, like at universities, for example. In universities, like 100 years ago, you had to learn other languages. And these weren't languages like, Spanish or Italian or German. It was like ancient Greek, Latin. Okay, you had to really be educated in these kind of things. And I think in of itself is an archetype of the nonchalant, dangerous, confident man. If you know languages, but you don't tell people that you know them, and people, oh, think I just thought about this. Braveheart. Braveheart is an excellent example. Do you guys remember when he meets the French princess, and they call him like a savage, um, or like a liar and a savage, and he speaks in French back, and he says, uh, I'm not a liar, but I am a savage. It's like, oh, oh. Like that is exactly the kind of nonchalant confidence that's you're gonna need when you're in war like situations, right? No matter what the case is, it's just about being a master of your craft. Okay, style and grooming. Bond's impeccable style with tailored suits, good grooming, attention to detail, all set a standard for timeless confidence. Okay, look at this guy. That's timeless. Okay, it's timeless in of itself as far as the luxurious look and feel. You've got to develop your own style as a man. I think that's really important, and I think it's important to have your own style because, well, it's your style. Like Uh, it doesn't matter exactly what it is. It just matters how you wear it, right? I'm sure everybody's heard um, from like Kevin Samuels, rest in peace. Uh, what does he say? Fit over fashion, right? So you just got to be more fit, and what you wear is going to make you look better because it's about the man who wears what he's wearing. It's not what wears him that makes him who he is, right? And so you don't have to wear tailored suits, but you do have to know how to groom yourself. Like for example, my beard. Okay, you'll see a lot of people with beards. Ugh, like I can't even stand to look at some people with the beards that they have because I can tell they don't take care of it. But I comb my beard every day. I comb everything, but I don't put any beard oil in it. I will wash it, every 2 days or so. I'll wash my beard, but I don't like with soap and everything. But here's the thing, right? A lot of people, this is a kind of a side note as well, but a lot of people will use beard oil or beard wash and whatnot. That stuff is literally just it's just to cater to a specific market. I genuinely think like beard oil and beard stuff, all that. It's just people may think that it's not a scam, but I think it's a scam because I don't use beard oil. I don't use beard wash. And look at my beard. Okay, I use regular shampoo, for my beard, or just body wash for my beard and to get under the skin here. And look at it. It's beautiful. Okay, and just I don't keep it straggly. Okay, you can see I don't keep it straggly. I kind of keep it, you know, I have a shape to it. Okay, so if you're gonna have a beard or something, for example, have some style to it. Have whatever it is that you want. When you are cleaning yourself, okay, get those underarms. Okay, get the butt crack. You have to get the butt crack. Okay, a lot of people. I remember playing pool with one of my buddies in college, and that guy, bless his heart, but man, I could always tell whenever he took a crap because he would always smell. He would and he wouldn't take a shower for like a day or so, and it's like, man, ugh, dude. After you take a poop, wipe it really good. Maybe get some wet wipes. I've used wet wipes a lot in the past. Whenever you've got to, but you've got. This is we're getting real here, so just bear with me. But you got to make sure that you are really getting up underneath there, with men specifically, you're washing around, the testicular area. Stay clean. Okay, just stay clean. And get like those get those scrubbers. I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head right now. Scrungies? No, not scrungies. What am I thinking of? You guys know. They're like the round ball things where uh, it's basically just for cleaning yourself. Why am I not thinking of the term right now? Anyway, point is, you want to get one of those, or even just uh, like a back brush, to scrub your back, something like that. Okay. For your shoes, make sure your shoes are shined. If you have shiny shoes that you want to do, like I have black dress shoes, and then I have brown boots, and I keep those shine nice and nice every once in a while. Like I'll clean them if I need to. I just make sure that they're nice and sturdy. If I have like running shoes, I don't because I'm going to the gym with those. I don't usually do a lot of grooming with those, um, but I try to keep everything nice. If I have holes in my socks or holes in my underwear, after a while, okay, because that happens to every guy, every person. Get some new stuff, or just wear it until you can't wear it anymore. I don't know. I remember hearing a story about my dad who wore his black and white checkered Vans until they literally were not wearable anymore because he just loved them so much. And the thing is like you could do that, you can do that, and if that's your style as a man, then that's your style as a man. Like you're just be who you are, right? But at the same time, our appearance really does matter. Okay, to a lot of different kinds of people. It may not matter to you, but it matters to other people. Whenever I've walked into a job interview, for example, and I wear my jacket instead of just like a nice shirt and a tie, whenever I wear my jacket, people treat me differently. It's crazy, but it just is what it is because you went just a little extra mile, and it doesn't even take that much of it's just a jacket. It's a dress jacket. And it's not really going it's not going to take you too much time to put that on, maybe a few extra seconds, but just showing up for yourself, right? Just being a little bit more uh, in line with who you are. Okay. And that's just a little bit. And there's definitely more that you could go into with that, but that's just a few things that I can think of off the top of my head. Okay. Charm with integrity. Now, Bond is obviously known for his seductive charm, but modern interpretations like Daniel Craig's show more of a restraint or a mutual respect or an emotional depth behind what he does. Okay, so this is Sean Connery's James Bond, but the charm and integrity of Daniel Craig's, it's a little bit more, I was going to say fortuitous, but I don't even know if that's the right word. Is that the right word? I think so. But the point is yeah, he's definitely got more of a life force to him that is more charming. Okay, it's definitely got more charisma, you could say. Like he put all his points into charisma and dexterity and constitution. So yeah, those are the things that you might notice as well with nonchalant confidence. Is you're not trying to get anything from the other person. You're not trying to be something that you're not. You just are who you are. Okay, and it's not even about being like you're not even when I say that, I don't mean be who you are and just like be this like over whatever person, because you might have to change a little bit of your personality depending on what kind of job you're at, for example. Or like, because if you're working, I don't know, as a police officer, it's going to be very different as far as your charm and integrity than if you're working at a I don't know, in the sewers, I guess. Like if you're working with the sewers and such, like of the city, there's going to be different contrasts. Okay, it's going to be different kind of charm and integrity, but it doesn't mean that you don't have that or it's absent in one way, shape, or form. Okay, now he's got independence and responsibility. James Bond operates independently and takes full responsibility for his decisions, and he owns his consequences and he does things on his terms. Okay, it doesn't matter what is going through his life situation. He always takes full responsibility and he just owns what's going to happen. And he does things as he wants to. He does things as he sees them to be. He's also got a purpose-driven life. Okay, his mission is about protecting others, serving the greater good, and upholding his moral code. Okay, this is something else that is different about James Bond is he has a code. Okay, and can a man really be confident in a nonchalant, dangerous way if he doesn't have a code to live by? Whatever your code is, whatever your code needs to be, like let that be the code. Okay, let it be what it needs to be for you. Now, even like they say, there's no honor amongst thieves, right? But sometimes even criminals have a sort of have a sort of code to them, right? Like they do have a sort of code. And I'm not saying that that's right. I'm not saying that you should be a criminal, but I'm just saying that that's an example of even the person who is involved with their vices the most sometimes has a code. Okay, like think about what's a villain that has a code. Well, I mean the Joker. The Joker has a code. His code is pure chaos. I mean, you remember in The Dark Knight where he tells Harvey Dent, he's like, introduce a little chaos to the situation or whatever. He says, kill me right now and the world falls into even more chaos. I'm an agent of chaos. And Harvey Dent has, that's another good code that he has, or this is a good example of a code. Harvey Dent has the you live, you die. And he has the coin in his hand, and one is light and one side is dark. And then the Joker says, oh, now we're talking. So then Harvey Dent flips the coin. That's his code. Okay, he decides to kill somebody based on a flip of a coin. Pure chance, which, that's not a good code, but still a code, right? Then we have fitness and physical preparedness. This kind of goes in line with competence and mastery up here. But the fitness and physical preparedness, Bond is mobile, he's strong, and he's capable in all regards. Modern men seek often holistic wholeness, strong body, clear mind, and healthy lifestyle. So part of what I do also in one-on-ones is the physical fitness aspect, especially in the Godlike Master Initiation program that I do, is we have a phase, because there's 3 phases in the Godlike Master Initiation. And one phase is specifically dedicated to physical fitness. Even though it's going to be a part of, everyday life from then on out, it's going to be, physical fitness in of itself as one of the phases. And you can tell a lot about how strong a person's mind can be based on their physical fitness. Now, does this also mean that they're going to be the healthiest? No, not always, because I know a lot of people at the gym, they look great on the outside. Like there's a fantastic looking physiques, men and women. But then on the inside, they're just empty. They look for validation. They look for being seen on the outside first because they feel like they need to have that being seen in order to feel like they're actually alive. They can't shine and not be seen at the same time. They just don't know how to do that. But James Bond also, he looks like he's always fit and prepared without needing to work out. And that's just unrealistic as far as the archetype goes for the nonchalant dangerousness, right? But also simultaneously, we have to be realistic when we channel this archetype, because archetypes are something that we channel, and things that we channel, it's not that they we don't act them out. They act out through us. Okay, our mind, our body is a channel for whatever it is. Our mind is like an electromagnetic satellite. This is how I describe it. Okay, so you can tune into the frequency. This is why I say thoughts really curate your reality. Okay, that's really a big thing. And a lot of men seek holistic fitness, and they want to track this, they want to track that, which I think is okay. But sometimes you don't need to track everything. Okay, you don't need to track everything. Now, with clients that I work with, where they absolutely need to really get on a track, I tell them, track exactly what I'm going to give them a document, okay, where they need to track everything that I made. I'm going to give them a personally tailored workout plan. Okay, that's something that, depending on your body type, that's what's going to need to happen. Because for me, like carbs, for example, with my nutrition, I'll give them a nutrition plan. I forgot about that too. Yeah. Nutrition. For me, sugar and carbs are no-go. Okay, no-go for me. They are really one of the worst things for me, even though I do need them sometimes. Like if I need some extra calories for a long, hard workout that I've been doing, or that I've been working with or working on, that's going to be something to work on. But also, just a lot of protein. That's where I recommend most people is just increase your protein, lower your carbs. It's really that simple. Okay. And that's exactly like James Bond is kind of an alternative. He drinks a lot of alcohol, and he doesn't really eat too much other than steak or something that we've seen, right? But he always has, shaken, not stirred. That's one of James Bond's most famous quotes, right, for his martinis. But it's about being realistic as well with these kinds of things. Okay, now he's finally technologically savvy. He's competent with most tech, and especially in the digital age that we are in, you need to be well-rounded. It doesn't mean you need to like it. I hate sometimes technology. Sometimes I really hate it. But for the most part, it's really cool. We wouldn't have these kinds of possibilities if it weren't for technology. We wouldn't have the Regal Change Academy, right? We wouldn't have this community and this online school if it weren't for technology. And so we wouldn't be able to have the group calls that we have without this. It's really fascinating, and it's really awesome to be a part of something like this, right? And to curate this. So being technology savvy is going to also help with your competence and that nonchalant confidence, okay? Because you're not going to be, oh, I don't know how to do this. You're going to be like, oh, I know how to do this. That's going to balance into that fullness of confidence instead of that low self-worth. So finally, being dangerously confident in a nonchalant way comes down to producing new thought algorithms. That's really it. That's all that it is. Because once you produce those new thought algorithms and then you act those out, that's going to be where things change. So some things to think about are what behaviors must you incorporate into your mode of being, and how long can you afford not to be confident in who you are? Okay, why shouldn't you be confident in who you are? Why shouldn't you be who you are? Okay, why shouldn't you have confidence in you as a man or a woman? Okay, think about this. Think about this and think about what kind of new thought algorithms you want to really curate. Like, what kind of person do you really want to be? And start believing that you're that person. Start believing that you can generate resources at will. Okay, you can be who you need to be at will. Okay, because that's just the way things are. Like, you can do whatever you need to do. You are the man, you are the woman, whoever you like. See yourself in the mirror and do that visualization technique, the visualization ritual, like the fire ceremony where you burn all of your fears away. Or, just tell yourself, look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself who you really are and who you want to be, and start being that person. All right. So I hope that this video was useful for you. Definitely a different kind of video that I'm usually doing with you guys, but I'm going to start trying to do these more. Again, you can see I have some topics already that I want to, talk about more of. So if you have more topics that you want me to go through in more of a class setting for you guys, let me know and I will see what I can do. I'm not a jukebox. Okay. I'm not a jukebox. I'm not here to be like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. Okay. Like, I want to hear feedback, but don't tell me what to do. All right. Uh, tell me what you want to hear more about, or what you resonated with, and we'll go from there. All right. I hope everybody has a blessed rest of your day. Peace be with you all. Until next time.